to Helen Cassidy, my next guest, in just a moment's time, and we'll be talking to her about a production she's putting on for the Melbourne Fringe Festival. It sounds interesting. The title's called Erotic Intelligence for Dummies. And I think the title says it all, doesn't it? So we'll talk to her in just a moment's time about that. It's a critically acclaimed one-woman show which is coming to the Fringe Festival. The Fringe, by the way, opens in the middle of the month, middle of September, so keep that one in mind too. It's 24 minutes to, and I think we've got her online now. Award-winning actress and clown, she calls herself, Helen Cassidy is my next guest. Now she's bringing she's bringing her show, Erotic Intelligence for Dummies, to the Melbourne Fringe Festival from September the 15th. Now let's open the lid on this erotic discussion and we'll have a chat to her. How are you, Helen? Nice to have you with us today.
I'm very well, Leigh. Thanks for having me.
An erotic discussion.
An erotic discussion. Sounds very exciting for a Friday lunch.
Doesn't it, eh? Yeah, we'll get your sandwiches out, your hot dogs, whatever you're going to eat at the moment, and off you go, yeah. Tell us about the show. This is fascinating.
Well, look, it's a topic I've long been interested in, sort of monogamy and marriage and long-term relationships and the terrain of long-term relationships and marriages and fidelity, infidelity, relationships, cheating.
You're covering the whole lot, aren't you?
I know.
Yeah. I was reading up on this. You've been covering the threesomes these days, aren't you? Eh?
Yes, indeed. I tell you, but what's funny now is since I started thinking about it, it's become a bit of a trendy topic, this idea of polyamory. Well,
yes,
why?
Yes.
You know, why be monogamous and when you can be open and honest about your desire to be with more than one person, and if it's all done in the light and with truth and respect, then anything is possible. Which is all great in theory, but we all know how hard it is to have a single relationship, let alone multiple relationships with multiple people trying to manage.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's
what I'm thinking.
Quirks.
Yeah.
Hearing me? Yeah. Not as easy as it sounds.
We're going to be there on your opening night, so I can't wait to sit in the audience and hear what goes on. Yeah.
Excellent.
Can't wait.
This is very much a light-hearted look at this whole realm. So it's I don't want to say it's through childlike eyes, but it's definitely through coming at it through comedic.
Well, I suppose my wife and I will go back home with a different view on our sexual life.
Well, hopefully. Look, my number one inspiration is just to start conversations between couples and between people, just to find out where they stand on this stuff, because a lot of couples, it's not something they even discuss or find easy to discuss. So often, just you go out and see a show and it has that it's lighthearted enough that you can come home with your partner and say, so where are we at with that? And maybe, these are conversations that we need to be having.
Let's have a wine, darling, before we go to bed. And, yeah. How's it been going? You're in Perth and the Adelaide Fringe as well. How did the audience go with this one?
Oh, fabulous. Perth was just gangbusters.
Really?
They loved it.
Yeah.
And I was, for some reason, expecting younger people to be my demographic, but not at all. It is very much something that we start thinking about more and are more curious about in our middle age. So, yeah, I was finding the young people in the audience were looking at me like I was completely insane.
Yeah.
Whereas it was the middle-aged couples who were like, "Oh yeah, I'm with you." So,
well, I suppose, Helen, the youngsters are into this anyway, whereas the middle-aged and people in my age group think, well, that's something I haven't tried.
Yes,
isn't it?
Possibly, or they're at a stage where they're
a bit stale.
Yeah, a bit stale, and they are looking for...
Change the sheets, darling. Give me a new pillow.
And the idea of erotic intelligence is actually a phrase coined by Esther Perel, who's a Belgian-born psychotherapist.
Right.
Who's really becoming a bit of a legend when it comes to topics of infidelity and love life and intimacy and how couples can sort of keep that spark in their relationships. So, amongst everything else, my show is a celebration of kind of a curiosity and a playfulness around intimacy and sexuality. So I'm hoping that it's inspiring in that way as well. And her idea of erotic intelligence is that it's the ability to keep the love alive within a relationship.
Yes, and the communication.
And communication,
that's right.
And the curiosity and the playfulness, and to be able to not let that slip into what she calls, what does she call it? Stable ambiguity.
Oh.
It's an interesting term.
Isn't
I think
it?
that's what she calls it, yeah.
And I see the journal in the UK quotes you as, well, doesn't quote you, they say about you, Helen Cassidy is a living, breathing goddess.
It's nice, isn't it?
Isn't it, eh? That's not bad.
Yeah, I've had some great quotes along the way.
Mm.
What do they call me? A fiery redhead with a wicked sense of humour, stuff like that. So, yeah.
You started to be a clown, didn't you?
I started as an actress,
Yeah.
but then got curious in physical theatre and circus and clowning. So I'm very much a classically trained actress who sort of ran away with the circus. So I've got a foot in both camps when it comes to my creativity. So everything from Shakespeare to clowning, I've kind of dabbled in it.
And I suppose the clown side, the comedy side, comes out in the show you're doing now.
Yes, very much.
So you draw on that.
Yes, it's that side of myself that is the wicked, cheeky, sexy, silly sexy. I don't think I'm genuinely sexy. I'm not a burlesque performer by any stretch. There's nothing, But, it's
I've got
really
a photo.
really fun to perform.
On your press release, I've got a photo here of you holding a panda bear, I think it is. A panda. Is Panda joining you on stage?
Well, you'll just have to come see. Might not be a panda.
I see. Might be somebody else, might it?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't want to give away all my secrets.
No, well, don't know. I just thought the photo there looked very, very interesting. You've done film, you've done television, you've done all sorts of things. What's been the highlight of your career?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
What's been the highlight of my career? In a way, I want to say this.
Right. Your current work.
My current work, because it's the culmination of all my experience. I guess I've been a performer for 20 plus years, but this is the culmination of my life experience as well. And to produce your own work is such an arduous task. It's a real mountain to climb, artistically and emotionally, and just with the logistics of it and the planning of it and the hard work of it, the sheer grind of it. So I'm super proud of having even attempted this, let alone have it go so well and be embraced by audiences and critics. And I would definitely say this is. And also I've had 2 kids, and that takes you out of the industry for a bit. So to feel that there's still life in the old gal yet is also a good thing to go, you know what, there's still some good years left in me for being silly on stage.
After this one, what are you doing next?
Well, there's a possibility of some projects next year overseas, which is very exciting. Can't say too much about them. But aside from that, I'm Brisbane-based, so I do a lot of work up here. And I'm also creating a new work for a sort of European market. So,
Okay. Yeah, you're a busy lady by the sound of it. How old are the kids?
They are 6 and 4.
Well, that's a handful.
Yes, but I tell you what, when you want any inspiration of clowning, I always say to people, just look at kids between the age of 4 and 6. And now I have 2 clowns in the house.
There you are. Plus yourself, so you got 3.
3.
You got 3, yeah. Now, you're performing at the Arts House Underground at 521 Queensbury Street in North Melbourne. It starts the 15th, runs on the 22nd of September, 7:45 on a Sunday at 6:45. Tickets are only $30. That's very, very inexpensive. It's great.
Yeah.
Great.
And it's a great show. I think, people are bound to have a good time. Don't be scared. I'm very gentle with everyone.
Well, you know, I'll be the chap with the grey hair sitting at the back, so don't worry too much about me, but pick on anyone else you like.
Sure thing.
It'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait to come along and see this, Helen, and I do wish you well for your season down here in Melbourne. All the best. And whereabouts in Queensland are you now? What
Brisbane.
part? Yeah, what part?
Oh, I'm in the Gap.
In the Gap, are you? Okay. I was talking to someone earlier today at Toowoomba. They say it's a cold day up there.
Oh, it's hot here.
Is it? You're hot there? Yeah. We've got 11 degrees here, so you'll come down here to a nice cool change.
Oh, that'll be good.
Take care, Helen. Thank you very much for talking to us today.
You too, Leigh.
Okay.
All the best.
Bye-bye to you. Ta-ta
Bye.
now.